Welcome to Historia. Imagine a ruler whose name has echoed through millennia, a queen who wielded both intellect and intrigue to command the most powerful empire of her age. Queen Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of the Ptolemaic dynasty, ruled Egypt at a time when Rome's shadow stretched across the Mediterranean. Her life intertwined with the greatest Roman leaders, and her decisions reshaped the political landscape of the ancient world. In this video we will follow her journey from a royal childhood to a legacy that still fascinates scholars and artists today. Chapter 1. Early Years and Ascension to the Throne. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in the cosmopolitan capital of Alexandria, the daughter of Ptolemy XII elites and an unknown mother, possibly a concubine of royal blood. The Ptolemaic court was a blend of Greek tradition and Egyptian ritual, and young Cleopatra received an education that included Greek philosophy, Egyptian religion, mathematics, and several languages, including Egyptian, Greek, and Latin. By the age of 10 she was already fluent in these tongues, a skill that later proved vital in diplomatic negotiations. When her father died in 51 BC, the throne passed to the 12-year-old Cleopatra and her younger brother Ptolemy XIII, who were married according to Egyptian custom to preserve dynastic purity. Their joint rule quickly descended into rivalry as court factions aligned with one sibling or the other, setting the stage for civil war. The power struggle intensified when Cleopatra was forced to flee Alexandria after a coup led by the eunuch Pothinus and the influential minister Achilles. Seeking support, she traveled to the Syrian desert, gathering a modest force of loyal soldiers and mercenaries. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt pursuing his rival Pompey, and Cleopatra seized the moment to return. According to ancient accounts, she had herself smuggled into the royal palace wrapped in a rug, emerging before Caesar in a bold display of confidence. Caesar, impressed by her intellect and poise, decided to back her claim, leading to the Battle of the Nile where Ptolemy Xi's forces were defeated. With Caesar's military support, Cleopatra was reinstated as sole ruler, and she married her younger brother Ptolemy XIV to satisfy Egyptian tradition while retaining actual power. The young queen began a series of reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy, including reducing taxes on grain and revitalizing trade routes through the Red Sea. She also cultivated a court of scholars, inviting the mathematician Euclid and the poet Callimachus to Alexandria's famed library. During this period, Cleopatra gave birth to Ptolemy XV Philopator Caesar, popularly known as Caesarion, whom she presented as the son of Julius Caesar. This claim would later become a diplomatic flashpoint with Rome. The alliance with Caesar deepened when Cleopatra traveled to Rome in 46 BC, presenting herself as a cultured ambassador. She stayed in a modest villa on the Palatine Hill, where she engaged in political discussions with Roman senators and displayed Egyptian art and customs. Caesar's assassination in 44 BC abruptly ended her Roman sojourn, leaving Cleopatra to navigate a volatile power vacuum. She returned to Egypt, where she faced renewed challenges from rival claimants and the rising influence of Mark Antony, one of Caesar's chief lieutenants. The stage was set for a new, even more consequential partnership. Chapter 2. The Alliance with Mark Antony. In 41 BC, Mark Antony summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus, a coastal city in Cilicia, to discuss a political and military alliance. Cleopatra arrived aboard a lavish barge adorned with gold, ivory, and exotic animals, a spectacle designed to impress the Roman triumvir. Their meeting was marked by mutual admiration. Antony recognized Cleopatra's political acumen, while she saw in him a powerful ally against Rome's eastern rivals. The two quickly formed a personal and political union, solidified by the birth of 3 children, the twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and later, Ptolemy Philadelphus. Their partnership combined Egyptian wealth with Roman military might, allowing Cleopatra to secure Egypt's autonomy for a time. Antony's political fortunes rose as he secured the eastern provinces, but his relationship with Cleopatra provoked suspicion in Rome, especially from Octavian, the future Augustus. In 36 BC, Antony granted Cleopatra control over the strategic cities of Cyprus and parts of the Levant, further enriching her treasury. Cleopatra used this wealth to fund a fleet of warships, reinforcing Egypt's naval dominance in the eastern Mediterranean. Their joint propaganda portrayed them as a divine couple, Antony as the son of Jupiter and Cleopatra as the incarnation of the goddess Isis. This self-image, however, alienated many Romans who viewed the alliance as a threat to Roman supremacy. The rivalry between Antony and Octavian culminated in the naval battle of Actium on 2 September 31 BC. Antony's fleet, bolstered by Cleopatra's ships, faced Octavian's well-trained Roman navy near the Greek coast of Actium. Despite Cleopatra's attempts to aid Antony, the battle ended in a decisive Roman victory. Antony's forces were scattered, and his fleet was captured. In the aftermath, Cleopatra withdrew her fleet to Egypt, while Antony fled to Egypt with his remaining troops. The defeat marked the beginning of the end for both leaders, as Octavian's forces advanced toward Alexandria. Facing inevitable defeat, Antony and Cleopatra retreated to the royal palace in Alexandria, where they prepared for their final stand. Octavian's legions entered the city in August 30 BC, and after a brief siege, the palace fell. According to ancient sources, Antony, believing Cleopatra already dead, fell on his sword and died in Cleopatra's arms. Cleopatra, now a captive of the victorious Romans, chose to end her life rather than be paraded in a Roman triumph. The traditional account describes her allowing a venomous asp to bite her, though modern scholars suggest other possible methods. Chapter 3: Death, Succession, and Historical Legacy. Cleopatra's death on 10 August 30 BC marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the beginning of Roman Egypt. Octavian ordered the annexation of Egypt as a personal province, ending centuries of Egyptian independence. Cleopatra's children were taken to Rome. Caesarion was executed on Octavian's orders, eliminating any claim to the throne. The surviving twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, were raised in the household of Octavia, Octavian's sister, and later married into the royal families of Mauritania and Syria, extending Cleopatra's lineage into the broader Mediterranean world. Cleopatra's cultural contributions endured long after her death. She patronized the Library of Alexandria, encouraging the translation of Greek works into Egyptian and vice versa, fostering a vibrant intellectual exchange. Her court attracted poets, astronomers, and physicians, many of whom recorded her reign in surviving papyri. The queen also promoted Egyptian religious practices, presenting herself as the living embodiment of Isis, which helped unify the diverse population under a common spiritual identity. These efforts left a lasting imprint on Egyptian art, literature, and religious thought. In the centuries that followed, Cleopatra's image evolved from a shrewd ruler to a symbol of feminine allure and political intrigue. Roman historians such as Plutarch and Cassius Dio emphasized her beauty and romantic liaisons, while later Renaissance artists portrayed her as the ultimate femme fatale. Modern scholarship, however, seeks to separate myth from fact, highlighting her diplomatic skill, multilingual abilities, and economic reforms that sustained Egypt's prosperity. Archaeological discoveries, including coins bearing her portrait with the Greek inscription, confirm her self-presentation as a legitimate pharaoh rather than a mere consort. Cleopatra's legacy continues to inspire contemporary culture, from literature and theater to film and popular music. Her story has been retold in Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, in Hollywood epics starring Elizabeth Taylor, and in modern graphic novels that explore her political acumen. Academic conferences regularly debate her role as a sovereign who navigated a male-dominated world, and museums worldwide exhibit artifacts that attest to her reign. The Queen remains a potent reminder that leadership can combine intellect, charisma, and strategic vision. Chapter 4: Conclusion and Looking Ahead. The life of Cleopatra VII illustrates how a single individual can shape the destiny of an empire through education, diplomacy, and daring alliances. From her early education in Alexandria's elite circles to her final act of defiance, she demonstrated a relentless commitment to preserving Egypt's sovereignty. Though her reign ended in tragedy, the political and cultural foundations she laid endured long after the Roman conquest. Cleopatra's story invites us to reconsider the role of women in ancient power structures, and to appreciate the nuanced interplay of personal agency and historical forces. Thank you for joining Historia on this exploration of Queen Cleopatra's power, politics, and lasting legacy. In our next video we will turn our focus to another pivotal figure of the ancient world, Julius Caesar, tracing his meteoric rise and the dramatic assassination that reshaped Rome. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the life of Rome's greatest leader and the events that forever altered the course of Western history.